Good day and welcome to SCO BRICS Insight, where we talk about what's really going on in the world of the BRICS. Now today I want to share the details, photographs and first-hand accounts of one of the most audacious military operations in history, is where the Russian forces went behind enemy lines using a disused gas pipeline. Do stay till the end, so I'll be showing photographs and sharing first-hand accounts of the operation. It started with a 15-kilometre journey through a pipeline, half crouched in pitch darkness and in full combat gear, which was seriously arduous. The debilitating effects included fainting, hallucinations and lung burns. There were jams of people, abandoned information, and the air vents were covered in earth. However, on the 8th of March at 5:30 a.m, approximately 800 combatants from the Veterans and Vokstock Brigades, the 30th Mobilised Rifle Regiment, the 11th Airborne Brigade and the Akhmat Special Forces advanced 2 kilometres north of the centre of Sudzha in the industrial zone of the city, behind enemy lines, and then entered the battle. This resulted in a coordinated onslaught, mounting pressure on the Ukrainian armed forces in multiple directions, and a swift liberation of over 10 settlements and areas, including Sudzha itself, by the 12th of March. Now, special correspondent for the newspaper Izvestia has gathered previously unpublished details about Operation Potok, which has already entered military history as one of the most extraordinary and daring operations ever taken place. Now, preparations for the operation spanned several months. For several weeks, a tunnel was dug, being an unremarkable landing on the highway 20 kilometres south of Sudzha. The entrance to the tunnel is located 500 metres from the point zero. The tunnel is between 2 and 6 metres deep, and of course it's irregular with steep rises. Here's a photograph of the entrance. At times the tunnel intersects with an existing gas pipe and a remnant of the Soviet infrastructure and part of the Urengoy-Pomery-Uzhgorod gas pipeline. Now, according to unofficial sources, the military developed a plan to use the gas pipeline in the autumn of 2024 as it's part of its strategy to liberate Sudzha. At that time, gas was still in the pipeline, and on January the 1st, Kiev cut off supplies to Europe, which was unexpected. Large-scale construction work then began immediately. Now, before I continue, I'd like to make an appeal. If you like and enjoy my videos, you can help me fund the channel and my website, SCOBRICSinsight.com, to further develop it. You can do this by making a small donation, which is done by clicking on the thanks button at the bottom of the video screen. Everybody who donates does get a personal thank you from me, and I'm thanking you all now. Now, the Veterans Brigade, known for their ingenuity and boldness, initiated a significant operation, entering the rear of the Avdeevka Ukrainian Armed Forces garrison through the sewer pipes, a manoeuvre they'd previously executed with great cunning and audacity. Now, this operation entailed living and working underground for an extended period, with only weekly visits to the bathhouse. You can imagine they were pretty smelly and dirty by that point. Now, the nature and purpose of the project remained a mystery. As Sergei, the commander of the Special Forces Unit Akhmat, whose call sign is Timso, who as captain report is probably the most famous photograph from the pipe, and you can see this photograph here. Now, he was informed at the end of February that he and his unit would have to go behind enemy lines as part of a combined detachment order in order to liberate the city. The details were reported to the men only 3 days before the start. As Timso explains, the unit established combat communications with all the assault groups. 10 reliable fighters were selected to enter the pipeline and begin their training process. Their number then grew rapidly. It was up to 17 and then on to 70. Initially, it was understood that people over 40 to 45 were not physically able to do this, plus it was too tall, so they wouldn't be taken. Now, the exit point in the Sudzha area was not sufficiently reconnoitred, and what he says, Timso says, was unknown. But here's a photograph of the entrance to the pipeline. He said, theoretically, we could have left and immediately been covered by the Ukrainians or shot at from tanks or artillery positions. There was no doubt about whether to proceed or not, he says. A typical episode was my chief of staff, who initially didn't intend to take, persuaded me to go on this mission, and he showed himself very worthy. He helped pull out 2 victims during the underground march. and we all consider it an honour to be chosen to participate in this operation. Now, each individual was equipped with a machine gun, armour vest, ammunition for 5 days of combat, water and food. However, during the 15-kilometre route, many participants discarded their excess baggage due to the arduous nature of crawling through the pipe. So they discarded armour plates, some unloading their vests, even helmets, and sometimes even their food. At times these items then created obstructions that had to be cleared, according to Timso. And it was only during the journey that it became apparent that the bare minimum equipment was necessary: weapons, ammunition, water for the hydration, energy bars, painkillers and a sleeping pad, and those who had them, a few knee pads. To transport the equipment, batteries and weapons, the signalman lowered 2 cargo carts and 3 electric scooters. The majority of the soldiers who descended the pipeline, having previously experienced combat in fire and water, their psychological aspects, the confined space, silence, darkness and protracted wait, didn't actually seem an obstacle to them. However, as Timso notes, that some soldiers did experience some psychological distress with symptoms including panic attacks and hysteria. They screamed, they shouted about, and their eyes conveyed their sheer terror. However, there was no possibility of escape. It's back 500, forward 500, as the Vysotsky sang. In such cases, it was necessary to stay close to individuals to keep them calm and reassure them that help was close by. Here's a photograph inside the pipeline. Some did turn back. The pressure of the walls and the fear of loneliness led many to huddle together in tight groups. That's despite instructions to maintain a minimum distance of 10 metres. Here's a photograph inside the 1.45 diameter pipe. Now, to check for the air for breathability, they used a lighter to ignite a flame. If it caught fire, the air was breathable. If not, it wasn't. Now, initially, the lighter functioned adequately. However, as a number of individuals entering the pipe increased, the flame consistently failed to ignite, leading to instances of individuals losing consciousness. Now, here's another photograph of the soldiers inside the pipe that gives you an idea of the conditions. Now, attempts were made to move these individuals to the ventilation shafts, but the role of the exhaust vents, which was assumed by the metal structure at a distance of 1.2, were allowing for in there. But these openings were covered by earthworks, and the journey took 2 days to complete in one direction. In the absence of light, the sense of time was distorted. It was also difficult to distinguish between the night and the morning in the first and second day. They also slept in semi-recumbent positions, as Horvat, the deputy commander of the Special Forces Community, Akhmat, said. He would occasionally fall asleep, sometimes for 15 minutes and sometimes for 1 to 2 hours when he was completely exhausted. In the continuous flow, if somebody was walking, they would wake him up and ask him to move over to squeeze through. If a cart was moving, he would have to stand up and step over it, as the floor was very slippery. The pipeline was full of methane residue and an oily substance all around the pipe, and these chemicals penetrated the bronchial system, the lungs, and they caused various problems and caused vomiting. Now, on departure, the majority of fighters were placed under medical supervision, where they received intravenous drips, had their blood checked, and were given drugs that would help remove the toxins. The Horvat is among the few who successfully completed the task of traversing the pipe both in a single direction and returning back the same way. Now, this feat involved the execution of a double throw of 30 kilometres. Now, this entire process took him 3 days, and here's a photograph of Horvat in the pipe. Now, his role entailed the establishment of a unique encryption code on the radio of each attack aircraft. He said it was not anticipated that the journey would be of such a duration, and he and his partner carried only a single can of stew and 2 litres of water, intended to use for both the going there and the coming back. However, they did find another 1.5 litres of water as they made their way through the debris. The Horvat repeatedly broke up signs of fighters overtaking them as he did so. Some were ready to switch off, while others were experiencing hallucinations. He said the most challenging aspect was personally navigating their clogged legs, which resulted in one of his legs being pretty immobile with a meniscus dislocation. The final 800 metres of the return journey took him 4 hours, as he described the process as follows. You crawl 3 metres, rest for a minute, then you start again. When asked whether he would choose to go through the ordeal again, he said of course, without hesitation. Now, there was a concept of using blue armbands to disorientate the enemy, but that didn't work. When 800 soldiers emerged in the early hour of the morning, it was evident that they couldn't be confused with Ukrainian soldiers, as they were black, completely covered with oil, and only the bright whites of their eyes and the sparkling teeth on their faces visible. Of course, there was no ambiguity of who was friendly and who was not. Now, we now know that the fighters routed the Ukrainians in Sudzha, freed the town, and the mission was a complete success. So this is the details behind this incredible mission carried out by the Russian forces that will go down in history as one of the most audacious missions ever carried out. I close a link below, which is in Russian, but it shows the exit of the pipeline and some of these brave fighters. So do have a look at it. So, that was Sudzha, the Russian Trojan horse, and I hope you'd like and enjoy this video. Please like and subscribe. If you want to help me out, please click on the thanks button at the bottom of the video screen. Thank you for watching.